last election, one of the candidates for the SLP was debating with the then Health Minister. And she said, I know a person who's been waiting for an operation for over 18 months, and yet you're talking about waiting lists being reduced to 6 months. And he stood up and said, well, I've heard what you said. What he said, I've heard all these stories before, but can you give me a name? Not just a case. Let's have the facts. Let's have the name and identity of this unknown person. And when it came to her rebuttal, she said, yes, I think that's fair. His name is a man called Arthur Scargill. You may have heard of him, but he's been waiting for 18 months. And next morning, I got a letter telling me my operation was scheduled for General Election Day. I couldn't see my way clear. You have to ask yourself, are they really being serious? He didn't say another word, by the way. We called for an ending to the system of private medical care. We'll never get a real health service in this country while we've still got organisations like Bupa and other providers. I'll tell you what real obscenity is, shall I? If you've got a father or a mother, a son, a daughter, a sister, a brother, a relative who is in desperate need of care, who go to their GP and are told that they may have to wait up to a year for an operation. But if they're prepared to pay, they can go into the hospital and the same consultant will operate within 3 days. As far as I'm concerned, if he can operate in 3 days on a private patient, he can operate in 3 days on a National Health Service patient and should be made to do so. You know, it's time we realise that these consultants should be told straight that if they work for the NHS, that's where the job is, and stop bloody moonlighting on the side at the expense of the NHS. And when they get into trouble, stop referring them then to an NHS hospital. In other words, let's have a free National Health Service for which we've paid, available at the time of need, upon demand, and completely free of charge. That's what an Iron Bevan argued, and that's as true today as it was then. And incidentally, when people talk about the third world and the countries that don't measure up to democracy, if you go to Cuba, you'll get an operation if you need one within a week. And they're supposed to be backward. They're supposed to be not advanced in the way that we are. Maybe they've just got their priorities rather differently. We said, as a party, in 1996, when we refounded the Socialist Labour Party, after Blair ditched Clause 4 and the right to take into common ownership the means of production, distribution and exchange, that in order to have a health service that makes sense, we needed to put in each year substantial funds. If that had been done, today the health service would have had £213 billion being put into it each year, instead of the 95 billion that's currently paid. Now, I'm not good at maths, but feel the expression I've just made. Touch it. 95 billion compared with what they were paying, and here we are in 2008 and we haven't really moved forward at all. All we've seen is hospital closures, or an argument that we ought to concentrate more so it'd be more economic. We're overburdened by bureaucrats. We've got trusts running our hospitals. We've got GP practices under trust status. Well, it's time we took them all back into public ownership and control so that they work for the community and they work for people and not for profit. You know, this government, and I've been told I've got to be careful because of libel, so I will be. I always have been. This government are guilty of theft. If we were living in a proper civilised society, they'd all be in jail. They have effectively stolen the pensions of all our pensioners since 1997. You can say, all right, we accept that the Tories and their viciousness would take away pensions. But in the mid-70s we reached an agreement that pension increases would be linked to the increase in salaries and wages or to the retail price index, whichever was the higher. Today, having had it taken away, it means that every pensioner in Britain is 40% worse off than they would have been had the link been maintained. Don't talk to me about fairness in a society when the last government and then this government are prepared to rob old age pensioners at the most vulnerable time of their lives. That, in my view, deserves the condemnation of every decent man and woman in this country.